Now it is July 4th, so I'm going to do my like hip hop sermon, if you will, right now, and we're going to talk about really one of the most important pillars of American history for Jewish people. And if you can't guess what that is off top, I'm going to tell you. Of course, it's Ellis Island. Samuel Ellis was a New York merchant who, at some point during the American Revolution, became owner of a muddy little island in New York's Bay. In 1808, minus notice the 808, 1808, 808, like the hip hop drums. It's kind of funny. In 1808, when it was still owned by the Ellises, the defense conscious federal government bought it for $10,000 and it became a fort, but the Ellis name remained. And after the War of 1812, the island was used for munition storage until 1890, when the House Committee on Immigration decided that it offered the perfect alternative for the problem fraught Castle Garden immigration station, where new citizens were sleeping on the floor, going hungry, and were routinely cheated by people that were taking advantage of them, mainly because they just didn't speak English yet. But 2 years after that, with about $500,000 and a lot of landfill, splendid Georgia pine turrets topped on the building, and they opened the doors for the first immigrant to step inside, who was actually 15-year-old Annie Moore from County Cork, Ireland. She was followed by about 700 more newcomers just that day. The first day of Ellis Island, imagine 700 people were granted immigration status to America, and in the first year was 450,000 people that came to America via Ellis Island. The numbers decreased until about 1900 because we had tightened up on immigration laws, also because of a cholera scare and an economic depression of the late 1890s. But due to the pogroms, which was going on in Europe at the time, around December 1900, they redid again Ellis Island and started to bring in a ton of Jewish immigrants from all over Europe, and not just Europe, but all over the world. To the passengers emerging from being trapped in mob dank, filthy, noisy, stinking, disease ridden quarters, Ellis Island for them was truly a vision of hope and promise in coming to America. And in 1902, a new commissioner of immigration instituted drastic reforms, which heralded by signs everywhere demanding for the immigrants kindness and consideration. But still, the average immigrant was exhausted after their journey, and they were both unable to speak or understand English. Imagine being quaked at the prospect of getting to the door of the new world just for it to open and you to not understand it. Henry James decorously put it as 100 forms and ceremonies, grindings and grumblings of the key to open the door to America. So even after the kindest and most considerate person in uniforms could appear terrifying to Jews coming to the new land, a Russian Jewish woman recalled that we were scared of the uniforms, that it took us back to the Russian uniforms that they were running away from. And there were so many questions to them about character, anarchism, polygamy, insanity, crime, money, relatives, work. Imagine all these questions coming at you in a language you couldn't understand. What seemed like the right answer to these questions could in fact be a wrong one. For instance, saying yes to "do you have a job waiting" could get you detained or deported back to where you came from, since contracting foreign labor at that time in America was illegal. It's kind of crazy to think about. We're still going through these problems today. European Jews of that time, they faced a very special problem. Peep this, Mr. E. After a journey that may have outlasted their kosher food supplies, they discovered that Ellis Island, when they got there, had no kosher food to offer them. Kosher food actually wasn't provided to Ellis Island until 1911, about 15 years after they had been escaping the pogroms. But the founding of the Hebrew Immigrant Aid Society in 1902 by a group of Russian Jews, recent arrivals themselves improved the conditions considerably. So, I mean, how amazing is that? The Jews came to America and made it their mission to make it easier and better for more Jews to come here to America. At Ellis Island and at other ports of entry, HIAS, the Hebrew Immigrant Aid Society, found them housing, fed them until relatives or friends showed up, searched for relatives and friends who didn't show up, and put in all-nighters scouring the late editions of newspapers to get jobs for the immigrants. I mean, we were really working hard to make our people comfortable here in America. This went on for almost 40 years, all the way up into World War I. This is when the influx of newcomers came to a halt, as unfortunately America began closing its doors. Obviously, it was wartime, and you didn't know who you could trust. It was a very, very difficult time. The decline in the island's population actually turned out to be a blessing, though, because during the war, there was bombs going off near the island, but there wasn't many residents left there to be hurt. Immigration picked up after the war, but there were so many restrictive laws that it slowed down to a trickle. During World War II, the island doubled as a detention center for enemy aliens and spies. And then finally, in 1954, the immigration center was completely closed. In 1965, though, it was taken over by the National Park Service and made part of the Statue of Liberty National Monument. I mean, how amazing is that, that after years and years of being a place of welcoming, that it now will stand forever as a statue and a place where you can go visit and actually see history in person. In 1982, Lee Iacocca was asked by President Ronald Reagan to head a fundraising campaign to restore Ellis Island and the Statue of Liberty. The main building was brilliantly transformed into the Ellis Island Immigration Museum. It actually cost $170 million and started welcoming its first visitors in 1990. So imagine a $10,000 investment ended up becoming almost a $200 million check for America. But that just goes to show you that historically we have been pro-immigration, and America is really a place for freedom, to the tune where even the Statue of Liberty was made as an homage to America, for us just being so uplifting to cultures around the world to come here and flourish, especially the Jewish cultures. So what I'm going to do now, even though Matt Barr can't be here, we're going to play this song and video he made featuring Anat Hochberg called Lady Liberty. I hope you guys really enjoy this and understand how important it is to keep America in our positive parts of our brain, knowing that us as Jews in the world probably would not have survived the pogroms and the world wars if it wasn't for America and Ellis Island. So here we go with Lady Liberty.
I'm the testy, S-T-A-T-U-E-L-I-B, the Statue of Liberty. See, you ain't heard freedom ring until you heard of me. And Emma Lazarus tatted these words upon me.
The Americans were reminded that Miss Liberty, like the many millions she's welcomed to these shores, is of foreign birth.
Talk to him, Reagan.
Scripture tells us that we shall not oppress a stranger, for we know the heart of a stranger. We were strangers once too.
Presidents know the presidents, I'm their girl. I'm referenced as evidence to all the world that if you try real hard, you can make it in my land. I put the I can in a mere I can.
To the tired huddled masses and the immigrants so poor, I'm Lady Liberty rapping upon my golden shore. I'm different than the statues that you've known before, such lighting out the air, now it's my mighty torch. Fed the refused in need of a rescue to the refuse, I'm your refuge, that's huge. Mothers of exiles, you know what it is. If you work real hard, there's better life for your kids. But rewind to 39, when I turned you back, it's as if I turned my back. I hope we learned from that. Saw the St. Louis ship sailing, lost my breath as I saw you flailing back to your guaranteed death. What the heck, a nation of immigrants yelling no immigrants here. Man, that's a little weird, I fear my life disappeared. My palms are sweaty, my torch is slipping, it's heavy. Now I need your strength because I'm feeling unsteady. You ready? Put one hand in the air, help me hold this torch. This land is your land once you enter my doors. Equality's my pedigree, you need to understand that the highest in the land must look up to the lamp in my hand. The lamp in my hand. To the lamp in my hand. The lamp in my hand. I'm the testy, S-T-A-T-U-E-L-I-B, the Statue of Liberty. See, you ain't heard freedom ring until you heard of me. And Emma Lazarus tatted these words upon me.
Presidents know the precedents, I'm their girl. I'm referenced as evidence.